In today's video, we're going to be looking at the fully blacked out Spyderco Tenacious Lightweight. So let's get right into the video. And oh my, have I been so excited to make a video about this knife for a long time now for you guys on YouTube. And the reason I'm so excited is because I really like the look of this knife. The nice and elegant blacked out look of this knife. Everything is blacked out. The black coating is super cool. The Efron handles are blacked out. The liners are black clip, even the standoffs are blacked out. So I just really love the look of this stealthy looking and aggressive looking fully blacked out Spyderco Tenacious Lightweight. So jumping to the specs, the blade length is coming in at 3.39 inches with a handle length of 4.38 inches, bringing the overall length of the knife to 7.76 inches overall. In my opinion, I think this is a really good length. For this knife, it's not too big, not too small. I don't want anything too big because it would probably just add a bit more weight, and I don't want to carry something super big in my pocket. In terms of blade thickness, I think this is a really good blade too. Coming in at 0.12 inches, not too thick. The weight of this knife is also really good because it's called the lightweight. It's coming in at 3.7 ounces, which is a really good weight if you want to carry this every day. In my opinion, I don't really want to carry anything above 4 ounces, mainly because that's a bit too heavy. In my opinion, anything under 4 ounces is just my preference. And yeah, I think this is a really good size and weight of an EDC knife. This would be really comfy in your pocket. So the downside of this knife is that it is using some cheap steel, which is 8CR13 MOV. 8CR13 MOV isn't that really great compared to new steels that we have today, like S30V. This is just not that great. But if you're just getting into knives recently and you wanted to get a cheap steel, you can go ahead and get this one, because I think you shouldn't buy something super expensive, because who knows if you're not really that interested into knives and you spent $200 on a premium steel. 8CR13 MOV is also a Chinese made knife. If you switch this to the back, you can see that this is made in China. China is basically known for their budget knives and also their budget steels like 8CR13 MOV. There are different factories around the world that Spyderco have, like, of course, there's one in China. There's one in the US, Colorado. There's one in Japan, Seki City, and there's one in Taiwan. And there's also one in Spain and Italy. Also, speaking of budget knives and budget steels, the price tag on here is pretty good too, coming in at $70 Canadian from the Blade HQ, which is, if you're wondering, about $55 USD. I think that the price tag on here is pretty good. The look of this knife and the ergonomics, I think it pays for the price. But yeah, I think the price is just reasonable for this knife. And if you wanted to get into Spyderco's, and if you wanted the main factors like the Spidey hole and the leaf-shaped blade, this is a really good price, because yeah, it's just a good intro to knives and Spyderco's. Another good thing about this knife is that it has a 4-way pocket clip, which you can carry tip down or tip up, left or right, which doesn't matter. Whatever you prefer, which is a really good thing about this knife too. Another good thing about this pocket clip is that it lands on the Spyderco logo, which makes it easier to slide into your pants easily. And speaking of that, let's do a little test about this. Have some pants right here, and let's see how easy it is to slide into your pocket. And yeah, it is pretty easy. But the only bad thing is that there is a bit of knife sticking out, which is not that good. But you can switch the clip on here to a deep pocket clip carry, because you can just buy those online from eBay, sorry. Yeah, which is a really good thing, that you don't have to be stuck with this knife, or sorry, not the knife, but the knife clip. One thing I don't really get about this knife is that they call this the Tenacious Lightweight. And the reason I'm kind of confused, and the reason I use the air quotes, is because the G10 version, which is the original version, it's 0.3 ounces heavier than this one, which is not that big of a difference. So I don't understand why they call this the lightweight. the Tenacious Efron handles would be a better title, which would suit this knife better. But I think that lightweight doesn't really suit it. Real lightweight would be like a Para 3 lightweight, which is a full ounce lighter than the Para 3, which is just reasonable. Because, yeah, it's just a whole ounce lighter than the Para 3. But this one is just 0.3 ounces lighter than the original G10, which that doesn't make sense because that's not that big of a difference, in my opinion. And if you didn't know, there is a whole line based off the Tenacious. I think it's called the Efficient line. But there are 4 different kinds of knives in that line. I think that the Tenacious is the best one because it's not too big, not too small. The biggest one is called the Resilience, coming in at 9.3 inches overall, which is kind of big. The second biggest knife is the Tenacious. The second smallest knife is coming in at 6.9 inches, and it's called the Persistence. And the smallest of them all is called the Ambitious, coming in at 5.8 inches, which is tiny. So yeah, like I said, I think that the Tenacious is just a reasonable length and size. I don't want anything too big like the Resilience, or anything too small like the Ambitious. And yeah, in my opinion, I really like the Tenacious size. I think it's not too small, not too big. It's just the best size for a variety of uses. And next thing is the Efron handles, which are bidirectional, textured, which is a really cool textured handle. I think it's really cool. It's a unique looking pattern too. It looks like a spider web, which is really cool. Spyderco knives do have their own different, Spyderco lightweights actually do have their own different patterns on their scales, which I think is pretty cool. At least I think they have different patterns. So if you're asking me which I would prefer, the G10 version versus the FRN version, I would prefer going for this one, the FRN version, because I think it looks cooler, the scales look cooler, it's a bit more thinner, the handles are a bit more thinner, and it's not that big and bulky as the G10 version. Also, the G10 version has kind of like, not sharp, but it's like, these have more rounder edges than the G10 version, which I like better because it is more comfy in my hand. I had the G10 version versus the FRN version. First impressions on the G10 version weren't that great as compared to the FRN versions. I didn't really like the big and bulky feeling, although I like the, it's a bit more simple. I like the texture of this and the look of this handle more than the G10 version. But yeah, that's just my opinion. Another great thing about this knife is that it does have a liner lock, which is really easy to disengage. It has a lot of metal sticking out. It has that big cutout. Like some knives, it's kind of hard to push them out because it doesn't really have that big of a space here that you can use your whole thumb to push aside. So that's a really good thing about this knife. And the action on this knife is not that great. It is running on phosphor bronze, which I seen that it breaks in easily. Maybe I just have to wait a bit more longer for this to break in. So now as we jump into conclusions, I can safely say that this is a really good budget knife, and if you're really interested in this Tenacious, you'd probably be interested in the whole line of Spydercos, mainly because it has all the factors like the Spidey hole, leaf-shaped blade, the great ergonomics, and the cool bidirectional textured scales, which I find really cool. And the good thing about the Spidey hole is that you can use many ways to open the knife, like Spidey flick it. You can use the blade to open it by flicking it open, or you can easily just slowly open it with your thumb, or even thumb flick it, which I kind of find harder than doing the Spidey flick. So yeah, I think that this is a really good budget knife. It is really slim in your pocket, which is really good. It also looks really cool, that stealthy and aggressive look. The design is also really great. The ergonomics are good. The action is not that great, which I don't find that pleasant. The bad thing about this knife, yeah, like I said, the action, the centering is not that great. The steel is not that great, which is the most crucial part in my opinion. But yeah, I think that this is a really good budget knife, and for an intro, if you're just getting into knives recently, this is a really good bridgeway and a path to other knives in general, and Spyderco's. This is just a really highly recommended knife, and if you wanted Spyderco's, then go ahead and get this as your intro knife. So with that being said, you guys, hopefully you enjoyed this review. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one.